All right, welcome everybody. If the red dots are in the title, we are officially live. We're testing out the new live streaming rig, which isn't new, but I haven't used it forever, so hopefully it works all right. If there's any glitches or whatever, please let me know. We tested this quickly last night, so a huge thanks to everyone who helped out with that. Today will be, I guess, 30 minutes. If anyone has any questions, I can help you with whatever you may need. So, Drutel, welcome. Back again. G'day, mate. So we should have a few people popping in here today, hopefully. Dylan, welcome, mate. Thanks for the help on the stream last night. Appreciate that. I think I've ironed out the bugs. We should be good to go. And if there's any bugs this time, then I'll cry. No, I'll be fine. I'll sort them out. All right, Craig, welcome, mate. Lunchtime here in Melbourne. Absolutely. I just ate. Went to the gym. Came back. What's my thoughts on the old Marshall MOSFET series? I don't think I've actually tried any of those, man. So I'm not too sure. Looks, I don't know. It just comes down to what you really like tone-wise. And if you dig the sound and you can get your hands on one, go for it. I always say that to people. I mean, a lot of people say some of the older Marshall amps aren't very reliable. I don't know if that's true, but that's one of the things you hear a lot of. I know some of the recent series of DSL amps, not the most recent ones, but a couple before that were pretty unreliable. So it's one of those things, man. Sometimes you buy an old amp, you buy a lot of problems. Sometimes you buy an old amp and it rocks. Ben, how are you? Quentin, how you doing? All right. We got Surfer B from Boston. Welcome, mate. Am I going to get the Gibson SG? That's from Have Fun Guitar Player. I'm not going to get it, no. I bought one guitar. That's more than enough. The Flying V I actually prefer. Tone-wise as well. The SG was good. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not... I've had two SGs, and I can't get as comfortable playing them as any other guitar. You know, like the SG just doesn't feel right. The neck-heavy thing I don't like. And it always feels like I'm reaching further than I need to get to the same place. I don't like that with SGs. I've owned two, like I said. I think they sound fantastic, but for a boring blues guy like me, Flying V, great guitar. I can't buy everything I test out. You know, it's just not viable. It's not a viable option. Brad Miller, welcome, mate. Landon, how are you doing? We got... Looks and sounds good. I'm going to enlarge the font here so I can actually read it. There we go. How about that? All right, Brad from Tampa. Welcome, mate. You've got a gig in 30 minutes, blues and classic rock. What do you take? Oh, I see what you mean. All right, so I just take the Marshall. I take the Flying V. Or I take a Tele or my PRS. But at the moment, I'm totally digging the Flying V. Just feels great to play. It feels as easy to play as my PRS. I can get all the way up the neck. It's just everything about it's great. It's probably one of the most responsive guitars I've got in terms of the volume control. So, meaning I can turn down and it stays clean and it still retains all its top end. Turn it back up and I can unleash the beast without even having to switch channels on the amp. It's a mighty, mighty guitar. If it's a smaller gig, I'll probably take the TweedTone20. I'm really enjoying not having as many pedals on the floor. There'll be times where I go through a phase where I just want to play my Fender amp because of its niceness. And then I'll throw down some pedals. I've still got my pedal board sitting over there right now. So that's one of those things. I go through phases with tone. But at the jams, where I'm playing the most at the moment, instead of at the gigs, which I'm still doing, but I don't do gigs every weekend or anything like that. I just like throwing an amp down and playing, so that would be the way to go. Marshall amps quite often need soldering reflow to fix. That's from Jonathan. You could be right about that, mate. I actually had the same exact thing happen with their Footswitch recently. I've got their amp channel switcher. Essentially, I had a cold solder joint or something broke in there. One of the pins just came off. I opened it up, had a look, touched everything with my finger, and realized one of the solder joints needed a quick fix. 2 seconds, done. But I throw that thing around. It's been battered and it still works, so it's pretty sweet. We've got Ron from Toronto. Welcome. So today is a bit of a Q&A. If you have any questions about any of the gear, how to use stuff or whatever, please let me know. Mr. Kareem says, hey Shane, have you upgraded to the 2019 Mac as per your geeky nerdy techie channel info yet? I haven't, no. I haven't done that yet. I'm on the fence. My iMac is, not everyone gets the whole Apple thing, and I'm using a PC in this room right now. I do all my audio on PC, but the video stuff's just really functional on the Mac, but I'm on the fence about it. It'll happen probably later this year, I'm assuming. Hey Shane, how do you think the SX Harley Benton stuff compares to the Mexican Fender stuff? I'm a hardcore Mexican fan, but those SX guitars look interesting. Look, after having played them both, I'm going to say the TE52 from Harley Benton's a better guitar. And I'm basing that on what I like. I like the fact that the neck's fatter, just slightly fatter. Tone-wise, it's close, It's pretty close tone-wise. I just think the TE52 reminds me very much of a Baja Telecaster in the hand, and that's cool. And if you sandbag the neck, you'll get that pretty much exact sort of low gloss vibe going on. You don't have to relic it like I did with mine, but even the stock one, I got one of the stock ones behind me here. This one's like, it feels more like a Fender in the hand than the SX does. The SX feels like a different instrument. The SX feels a bit more like a classic vibe, which is a great guitar. So you can't really complain. But the neck's, while it's still got a bit of chunk, it doesn't feel like one of those. I think I like the finish on the Harley Benton T52 a lot more. I haven't tried their Strats yet. I can tell you that the pickups in the SX Strat rock. It's a great, great guitar. I actually did a bit of a post about that at guitarpedaldemos.com. You can read up about that. CC Music says, howdy Shane, hailing from the US. Just today changed the tubes in my Grandmeister Deluxe 40 and sitting here testing it and watching the live stream. Cool stuff, mate. It's great to see people doing that kind of stuff. It's nice and simple. Depending on the configuration, you sometimes don't even need to bias the amps. The EL84s, plug them in and you should be good to go. And it's the case most of the time anyway, not all of the time. All right, so just Jeremy, in terms of how does it compare to the Mexican Fender stuff, very, very favorably is the answer. I've got a Mexican Stratocaster. The TE52, for example, the gloss is a bit different. It doesn't feel, maybe like the finish is quite as good, but in terms of how it feels to play, it feels great. I've used my Relict one live a whole bunch of times already. It's fine. Today I realized all the pedals I bought in the last 3 months, 8, were all because of your reviews. I regret nothing. Thanks, Bobby. Welcome, mate. I run into Bobby on a couple of other channels that are completely outside of the guitar niche, and welcome, man. That's cool. Let me know what you got as well, and I'm glad you like them. See, that's good feedback. So that's awesome. Oh, is the camera out of focus? Sometimes I'm on autofocus today. Next time I do this, I'll chuck it on. I'll chuck it on manual focus. But this is how we're rolling today. I'll lower the mic. That should help. Enjoyed your recent video of the Squier Affinity Tele. Sounded great. I'm fixing to buy one. As a lefty, I like that term. I'm fixing. As a lefty, sometimes we don't have a lot of choice. Currently playing the LTD EC1000 with EMGs. EMGs, cool. You know what? I think EMGs get a little bit of a bad rap sometimes, like the whole active pickups thing doesn't sound too bad. And I tell you what, have a listen to Michael Burks, who's here, and he uses active EMGs and his tone rocks. So there you go. All right, James Shackelford, thanks, mate. Do I have any Keeley pedals where you are? I have tried some. There's a couple of shops that do sell them. I don't own any Keeley pedals. I had a pretty average experience with one of his chorus pedals. It was arguably the noisiest pedal I've ever plugged into anything. After that, I just wasn't that interested. I know he does some really great mods. And I haven't tried any in the last probably 5 years now. So, to be honest, I should probably give them another go. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've tried Keeley Pedals. I've tried some modified Keeley Pedals recently, but that was about it. Fabian says, should I buy a Fender Blues Jr for home use? Not really. Like, this is one of those questions. If you live in an apartment, no. It's way too loud. It's 15 watts, and it's kind of an interesting amp because it's not loud enough to gig with a lot of the time. If you're with a drummer hitting at full steam, the Fender Blues Jr isn't loud enough most of the time unless you're mic'd up. But for home use, like I live in an apartment, I have to time my recordings when I know my neighbors aren't around, right? So if you live in that sort of situation, people leave during the day, you'll be fine. If you're in a house, you can crank it up. But most people find them too loud for home use. You're probably better going for a 5-watt tube amp or valve amp. That'd be my suggestion. And also, I think you probably shouldn't buy a Fender Blues Jr 3. Get a 4. They fixed the reverb tank issues. Nearly 3 out of 4 that I tested of the Blues Jr 3s all had this oscillation in the reverb tank. It's horrible. Like you'd hit a note, and then you'd get this scratchy overtone that would come in about, as it was sort of fading out. It was awful. So I think they've finally fixed those issues. I've tried the 4s, and they sound fine. Another option would be the TweedTone20 as well. A great, I don't know where you live, but that amp is great. It's better than the Blues Jr. Where did I get the Reverb t-shirts? I was at the Melbourne Guitar Show, just walking around filming the Guitar Search Saturday last year. And I went up to the Reverb booth, and I saw a guy's name that I know on the board. And I said, oh, is he around? And like a name tag thing. And he said, no, he's out for lunch or whatever. And I went, spewing. So I said, tell him I said hi. I said, do you want a free t-shirt? I didn't say I did YouTube or anything. So they were giving out stuff. So I got this, and I got a free tuner that worked for about 2 months. And then that was it. It didn't work after that. So it's one of those, the t-shirt still going strong. Do I play blues harp? I don't play blues harp, no. I played harmonica before I took up guitar, and then I realized I like harmonica when it's played well, but I don't like them generally at blues jams, unless they're good players. Phil says, thing with Harley Benton is their hardware fails you. Okay. Fender Mexican doesn't. I've already had a Harley Benton jack fail me and the tuners fall apart super fast. Good for the price, but not on the same page as a Fender Mexican. That isn't really that accurate. I mean, everyone has different experiences with gear, so that's accurate for you. But I tell you what, my 52 reissue Tele, I had to replace the jack and both pots. Both the volume and the tone pot failed, and that was an $1,800 guitar back in 2010. So you can never tell with stuff like that. I've had less expensive guitars that have had no problems. So it just depends on your situation, how much you use it. This is a great example. I bought an Ibanez Tube Screamer Tone Lock Series 1 when they first came out. Guys like, you might have any problems with this one, just buy the good one, don't buy the cheap one. I'm like, all right, I'll buy the good one. So it was like $179. Within 3 weeks, the Footswitch stopped working. I didn't drop it, I didn't do anything. So, in terms of gear and electronics and anything that requires soldering and human error, stuff can go wrong. But everyone's got different opinions on and experiences, I guess, about how things work for them and how reliable they've been. I've had mixed results over the years, man. When stuff comes in that should work and it doesn't, stuff like that as well. Everything looks great. Thanks, Surferby. I appreciate that. Like the new setup. Awesome. Thanks, Austin. Hey, Shane, have you ever played a Bad Cat amp? So I feel like I need to burp, but I don't. I just ate. All right, so the Bad Cat stuff, I don't think I've played one, actually, at a shop. My friend's got a couple of them that he takes to the jam, so I get to hear them a lot, but I don't know if I've ever played one live. I don't think so. But playing them at At a shop, I've definitely done that before. I was on the fence about buying one of their, I think, a 15-watter, but I realized, yeah, it's probably not loud enough. And that's always that 15-watt sort of safety zone. Do I buy it and just hope it's loud enough or what? But great sounding amps. Sort of, I guess they kind of remind me of a Fender sort of tone that sounds great when you push it. I don't know. It's a pretty cool amp. They definitely make some good stuff. $30 minimum for gigging. Yep. Yeah, it just all comes down to, you know, where you're playing and how loud you can be, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the 30 watts is a good safe zone. Absolutely. Couple of exceptions to that, but yeah, 30 watts is usually what I tell people the same thing. Try the Keeley reverb pedal for a better experience. Okay, I'll give that a go. I'll see if I can get my hands on some of that stuff, whether I can borrow them or if Keeley are interested in some videos. But that's one company I don't really hear from. I remember the last lot of Keeley stuff that I borrowed, I got from a local shop here that let me just borrow some pedals. Deluxe Guitars here in Melbourne, actually. And that's when I had that Seafoam chorus, which was like, you turn it on and it went... That was awesome. Maybe that was part of the ocean sound. Have you had any experience with the EHX Soul Food with a JHS mod? No. And I'll tell you what, don't spend money on modding a Soul Food or having it modded. Go get a good quality pedal. Go get a Shelly Ponyboy or something like that. I'm not affiliated with those guys. $100 US, you buy a handmade USA made pedal in Florida. Much better decision, unless JHS, I've seen them on Amazon actually, unless JHS are actually putting better quality pots in there. Those pots that the EHX use are garbage. You drop that pedal once, you'll break them. Happened to me. They're just plastic potentiometers. So the bits that you turn for volume gain, all that kind of stuff, they're made of plastic. They're cheap junk. Sorry guys, they are way overpriced. They are super cheap junk. They sound fine, but buy a good one. Don't waste your money on that. Don't do it. I'm sure some people will disagree, and that's fine. Everyone's got their own opinion. But if I'm going to spend $100, I'm buying a Shelly Ponyboy any day of the week over a modded EHX pedal. I don't dislike EHX either. They make some really cool and innovative stuff. I just don't like the fact that some of their stuff isn't very reliable. And their pots are crap, and even some of their more expensive pedals here are like $700 for like the Pog 2 and all that kind of thing. The sliders, they feel kind of cheap and nasty, but that's my opinion. I had one, it broke. Yeah, and it's a disposable item. You can't fix it. The 8 pedals from Bobby Beretta that he bought are the Joyo American Dream, Sweet Baby Overdrive, Tube Drive, Ultimate Drive, Donna Stylish Fuzz, Pure Sky, Orange Burst, Pegasus OD. Oh, you got the Pegasus. Cool. Yeah, Kalen make great stuff. They really do. We got Mark. Welcome, mate. How are you? Fellow Aussie, I assume, from saying g'day. Phil says he tried to learn harmonica, but it's actually harder than it looks. Yeah, it is. To play it well, it's not easy. I think a lot of harmonica players, their first inclination is to go buy one and then go straight. Instead of going home and like working out what they do, they go straight to the blues jams. And there's a step missing in there, definitely. Yeah. Have I ever tried the G&L Tribute series? I have. I've tried one at Jerry's Lefty Guitars, actually. They're pretty cool. I had a G&L, is it ASAT? Is that how you pronounce it? ASAT, like the missile or whatever? ASAT Classic. It was a really beautiful looking guitar. Odds are it had the best neck finish I've ever seen. It was like how they finish a shotgun or something like that. It had a really beautiful oil or wood finish on the back of the neck. It was stunning. But at that time, I was kind of obsessed with the 52, and I ended up flipping it. It's probably a guitar I should have kept, you know. It was a real stupid decision to get rid of it. What happened to my Squier Classic Vibe Telecaster? So I bought a few guitars all at once. I bought like a couple of Squiers, and then I got a couple of Tokais, the Chinese-made ones. And then I ended up buying a Gibson Les Paul, which was a lot of money. that gold top one with the P90s, the custom shop. It was used, but it had never been played. And I panicked, and I was like, I got to get rid of some stuff. And then I ended up having to get dental work done. I sold the Gibson for the same price, so it worked out all right. Crazy. P90s are one of those sort of setups for me that I love it, and then I don't often get a chance to use them without a whole lot of buzz. You know, the places I play at, there's only one out of those few places that I gig at that work really well with P90s. There's only one place I've ever played in my life that had no buzz, and it was amazing. Like, it was the best thing ever. It was down the coast here. We plugged in, we're like, hang on, my guitar's on, and I've got P90s, and I'm not even getting that I need to stand a certain way kind of thing to cancel out the hum. I love P90s, but yeah, like I said, I always find like they're a bit finicky when you get to certain places and play them, especially when you're shooting and you go to get, you know, in a little room like this when you got cameras and power supplies. I got 3 power supplies running for the cameras usually, power supply in the computer, all my electronics. It's hard to use P90s in here. Oh, hang on. Let me just scroll down here. I just watched your review of the Jamstack portable amp. I'm not going to buy it. Probably a good move. Look, they actually sent me some replacement cables for that unit. I haven't had a chance to test it out. I said to them, send it out. I'll test it off camera, and if it works, I'll do a follow-up video. But you know what? I'm pretty tech savvy, man. I know how things work. So if that's a cable problem, I'd be really surprised. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes, I guess. It's I would hold off buying one of those. If I was to recommend anything, I'd get the NUX, right? BT Lite practice amplifier. That thing is the best. And you don't have to attach it to your guitar, and it actually takes up less room. So yeah, I don't know. I think that I did a bit of a rant about Bluetooth devices on my last podcast. If you missed that, it's already on the YouTube channel. Hey, Ben, welcome, mate. How you going with your injury? Waiting on surgery. So it's nothing major. For those who don't know, I just need knee surgery coming up. I saw the surgeon the other day, and he's like, it could be 8 weeks, it could be up to 12 months, but usually it's a 3 to 4 month wait. I'm like, great. So that sort of puts a bit of a hold on other plans, but that's all right. I'm doing all right. I trained today. It was arm day today, so still at it. I played the Harley Benton at home for a month and it started to break, not gig worthy. I disagree. I've used mine live plenty of times, my relicked one, and it survived the whole relicking process. Everyone's like, "Oh, take off the electronics." I'm like, "Why? I can just blow out the dust with some air, and it's still working fine." But you're right. Like, you might have had issues. It doesn't mean everybody's going to have issues. And I think it's different when, like, I've tested high quality items that don't work when they turn up. You know, I've tested a few of those things where they're worth a lot of money. They come in, they don't work, and cheaper stuff works better. Look, replacing pots on a guitar isn't a big deal. I've had to do that on my Fenders. I've had to do that on one of my Tokais. I had to replace the switch as well. So, yeah, you never can tell with gear. That's just the way it works. If I had to choose only one amp, Marshall or the Artist? Look, I'm going to take the Marshall. I took the Artist out the other night, and I wish I had just a little bit more volume. So the Marshall's a beast. And with the Texas heat in there, it's done. It's awesome. If my knees suck, I'm taking the Artist. Is the Soul Food not good? I was looking at trying one out. That's from Phil. Look, it sounds fine. It sounds like the Klon. If that's what you like, it's going to do that. But they're starting to get up to around $70 in the US now. Probably about $140 here. For that exact same price, you can buy a USA-made one from Shelly. It's a weird spelling. It's like Chellee. They're from Orange City, Florida. I don't get any, handouts for mentioning that. They make good stuff. Absolutely. So they make great Tube Screamer style pedals as well. So for an extra $20, you're getting a much, much better pedal that can that won't break when you drop it on your floor from 3 feet. It's just they're made completely different. He's got drone drop tests where he takes it up, equivalent of 100 meters or whatever it was, and lets it go straight onto his street and plugs it in and it works. So, yeah, the EHX don't make products to last. Not anymore anyway, at least not that range of pedals. Maybe some of their others, but unfortunately they're not that good anymore. They're plastic potentiometers. It doesn't affect the tone, right? It just affects the build quality and the reliability, or durability of it. Dwight, welcome. Am I interested in trying out the Princeton Stapleton signature? Oh, I wouldn't mind doing it. Yeah, I didn't realize there was one, to be honest. Bit out of the loop with new products, so that would be pretty cool. I didn't know that was a thing. I'll Google that while... It's a 62 Princeton. It's in... Oh, how about that? Unfortunately, I don't think I can share this because I haven't got the rest of this set up right as of right now. So it's a brown sort of Tolex with a wheat kind of colored grill cloth, and it's only got 4 controls. Sorry. It's got volume, tone, speed, and intensity. So that's pretty cool. No reverb though, just tremolo. Interesting. Yeah, check it out. That looks pretty cool. Looks pretty cool. So, long answer short, I'd love to try one. Do I use a wah pedal, and which one do I use? I use the GCB95F. It's a Jim Dunlop one you can buy. It's not their standard GCB95, which I've had some of those as well. They're fine. The GCB95F has a different chip called this phasal chip, or however you pronounce it. It's a little less bright, and it's more of a mellow sound, and I love the way that it works. It really does good things. So yeah, that's my only wah pedal right now, and I love it. I use it anytime I need it, which is most gigs. I take it with me. A lot of the songs I wrote and a couple of the covers we do, like the Bill Withers, some of the Bill Withers stuff really requires a bit of a wah pedal in there just to funkify it. Oh, there we go. Mr. Kareem, thanks, mate. Press Start Frank says, that's an interesting name. Your shirt, I found the Telecaster of my dreams thanks to Reverb. Favorite app ever. Cool. Good stuff. Tracy, welcome. How you doing? We've got TB from Romania. Welcome. CC Music says, I bought a brand new Gibson SG in 2017. The guitar plays and sounds fantastic, but whoever made it in the factory missed the finishing in the crease of the headstock. Literally raw wood. Wow. Are they all like that or just that one? That's crazy. What's my favorite food? Probably Italian and burgers. I love Italian food. I like lots of different food, actually. It depends on my mood, but yeah. Italian food and burgers. Can't go wrong. Not together, obviously, but yeah. Eric says the Princetons are great. He has a 65 Princeton reverb with a 12-inch Cannabis Rex. That's a great combination. 15 watts RMS, 6v6, tube reverb and tremolo. Very cool. Yeah, couple of the shops actually local to me now have the 12-inch Princeton as well, which is covered in this like denim covered sort of tweed. It's like a dark blue sort of steel kind of color. That's really cool. I saw that and I went, oh no. Yeah, because for me a 10-inch speaker is just a little too small for live use. You can get away with it at smaller gigs, but you're still limited to that 15 watts. I think the biggest speaker, and especially an efficient one like a Cannabis Rex, they're only rated at 50 watts, but they're extremely loud. They're like one of the most efficient speakers out there, which means they're loud. It makes your amp louder, so very cool. Have I gigged the V yet? Yeah, I played it live 4 times. I filmed one of the jam nights. I should have filmed the gig that I did with it because we were playing great. Unfortunately, I've only got the audio recording of it, which is still a cool thing, I guess. But I love it. Like I said earlier, the volume pot works extremely well. Turn down, it cleans up. It does all the good stuff. And it's got a high-pass filter, so I can get really great funky tones with my volume control down without losing any of the top end like you would on most Les Pauls. Not all Les Pauls, but those burst bucker pickups are my favorite. Like, they're really, really great. Rick actually picked one up and played one. If you watch the podcast I posted recently, there's a clip of him playing one of those through a Marshall, and it's great. Welcome to the people joining. We're at 92 here already. That's pretty cool. Well, not already. We've been going a while. How long have we been going here? 30 minutes. So if you're still here and you're enjoying the live stream, or if I helped you out, please give it a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Have I ever played righty? I haven't. I've tried. It's awful. So many people say, oh, how can you do this left-handed? I'm like, how can you do that right-handed? Just the exact same question. Just the way that works, It's one of those things. There's no way I could play right-handed. I've played right-handed guitars upside down as a lefty at jams just for a joke, but I'm terrible. It's like trying to write with your opposite hand, basically. Having trouble with Shane recommended Hot Tone Legacy running the Nuix Cerebus 4-cable method, getting a loud rumble sound. It sounds like maybe your power supply's dodgy. I'd check your cables. My friend Brian, who plays in my band and who I jam with even on Sunday night, he bought the Cerebus off me. He loves it. He has no problems running that at all, but he just runs it in one side and out the other side straight into the front end of his amp. And he's used it live probably 5 or 6 times now. So usually if you're getting some sort of weird rumble or issue like that, I would start troubleshooting everything. Start with your cables, detach the effects loop, just go straight into the front end, see if everything works like that. Start troubleshooting things that way. Try different power supply. Power supplies can make a huge difference to things as well. So the Cerebus is great. Actually, 2 of my good friends, the other guy, Dom, who was on my live gig, he had a Cerebus as well. So, that's pretty strange. There's a lot of love for those things. I think they're really good. I would just start from scratch and try to work out what's making the noise. Try it even in a different amplifier if you've got the ability to do that. Just see if there's something going wrong somewhere else. Do I have any recommendations on a Strat pickup? I have the Fender Hot Noiseless, and I don't think the Noiseless really sounds like a single coil. Yeah, they don't. 100% of the way. The newer ones are getting better. I actually had the Hot Noiseless pickups. I thought they were some of the better ones that they made. The only time they don't really sound like a Strat is if you're playing on your own. If you're playing with the drums and bass and all that, they're fine. So you got to weigh up whether or not you're happy getting the buzz. So I just wouldn't. I would stay away from Fat 50 pickups. I reckon they're the worst ones I ever bought. I would even try getting something. For me, some of the best pickups I've had are the ones that are in my Mexican Standard. They're a little hotter than your traditional Strat pickup, and they kind of just sound really full and got all the chime in the world. So I think they're ceramic too, actually. I think they're the ceramic pickups, and they work okay. One pickup set I'd like to try, which are some of the least expensive, are the Jimmy Vaughn Tex-Mex ones. I reckon they would be a pretty good choice too. Brian is an awesome guitarist. Brian is an amazing guitarist. He's something else, man. I was just sitting there watching him laughing while I was on stage with him. He's a virtuoso. Like, I got some really tasty guitar friends, and Brian's just, yeah, wait till you see him on the next one of these live things we do. He's insane. And he loves the Cerebus. That's become his pedal board. That's all he uses now. Fender Hot Noiseless are pretty good. That's from Surferbee. Yeah, I agree. I had the Hot Noiseless ones. I had the Sumerian Cobalt ones or whatever they were called, the SC Noiseless. And I had another set, maybe like the vintage Noiseless ones as well. Even the Zex coils don't sound 100% of the way there. They're great, but they don't nail it, you know. Like, and I've tried the Johnny Hyland signature Noiseless pickups when he was making pickups with the Allen for about a month. I bought those, and they didn't really nail it either. So, your best bet would be just to go get a standard set of single coils and put up with the noise. CC Music says, does anyone else get nervous bringing their expensive guitars to gig with? I'm considering picking up a couple of player Strats or Teles just because they're easily replaceable or moddable. Yeah, there's certain places I wouldn't want to take my top-of-the-line stuff. That's why those other cheaper guitars are the way to go. Or even something like the Mexican Standards. They're great. You know, I don't have to stress too much about those. This is from... what's the name here? Jamaparu, I think it is. What's my thoughts on the Yamaha 611? Let me have a look. Yamaha Pacificas are usually pretty good. It actually looks like a great guitar. We get a P90 in the neck, and we get a humbucker in the bridge, and I'm tipping it's probably split coilable. Split coilable? Is that even a word? Is that a split coil in the bridge? It's hard to see, but Yamaha make good stuff. We were talking about them at the shop the other day. Like, probably one of the most underrated guitars. Like, they're inexpensive on the most part, depending on where you live. But that one's coming in at about $729 here in Australia. So it's getting up there, but it's still cheaper than sort of like a Mexican Strat here. It looks like a great guitar. It looks like a great guitar. Check it out. Play it, see if you like it, and yeah, go from there. Bullwhip says his Mexican Strat was probably the second best guitar he ever owned. You know, I changed pickups in my deluxe 50th anniversary Strat probably 5 times. I went from 2 separate sets of single coils. I had 2 or 3 sets of noiseless pickups. I went back and forth, and then I bought a Mexican Strat, and I was like, this is so much better. It sounds great. So there's something to be said for that. Absolutely. If I had to go without energy drinks or burgers, which would it be? Energy drinks. I don't really need to be having them. But after the gym, it's good for me to sort of stay awake here. I don't want to fall asleep. The only noiseless pickups I've enjoyed have been the Seymour Duncan line. Everything else just maybe want true single coils. In terms of Tele pickups, the Joe Barden, Danny Gatton ones I've got are awesome. Like, you know, even in that guitar, I've changed pickups now twice. I always go back to the Joe Bardens. They do everything right. They're the best of that type, but I don't feel like they sound like they'd work great in a Strat. I know you can get them for Stratocasters. They just don't. They have more of a Tele vibe about them. I don't know what it is, but yeah, they're still. And the reason why they're so good, the Joe Bardens, is because they're only 4.5K output, which means like they're low output. They're not like a 10K pickup or anything like that. A lot of people see them, they go, "Oh, why'd you put hot rails in there?" I'm like, these are like lower output than most single coils. Tracy says my 2005 USA Strat had whatever stock pickups are in it. Goes all right for me. Embrace the hum. And that's the thing. If it works, keep it. Don't fall into the rabbit hole of changing pickups. And what I've learned over the years too, a lot of what you hear when you're on your own is completely different to when you're playing with others. You know, not having the buzz is more of a benefit, in my opinion, than losing just a fraction of the top end. You can always dial up your presence control a little bit more too. They're not going to be identical, but for me, not having buzz is so much less distracting than hearing when I'm trying to play. Like, I hate that. Surferby says he's had 3 donuts today. Do 500k pots instead of 250k pots in a single coil Strat make any difference to the sound? It will make it brighter, but you don't want to do that. You only really want to add tops to humbuckers. Like, there should be plenty of tops in a Strat. Adding 500k pots isn't really gonna. You'll probably find you're going to be living on your tone control a lot more. They're not 500k pods generally, unless there's some sort of active thing in there, aren't really designed for Strats. So don't do it. You won't find any benefit. It'll probably just be too bright. Have I ever tried the Greg Koch pickups? I haven't, no. I don't know if I'll ever really give them a go. I did get an offer to try them at one point. Or those, what are they called? The Fishman pickups? It was a company that dealt with them. And I was like, do I want to go through the hassle of installing them and then having to charge them up every once in a while? I decided, no, I'm sticking with my Joe Bardens. Anything, I don't know. Some people that wouldn't bother everybody, but for me, I was like, I don't want a battery in my guitar. I've done bass gigs where I've turned up and the battery went flat because I'm like, oh damn it, I haven't changed that for 2 years and now it goes dead. So it sucks. I know that would happen to me. I've got that kind of luck. Martin D, welcome. He says he's first time here, just lurking. Well, if you have any guitar-related questions, mate, just let us know. If it worked for Danny Gatton, it will work for me. Absolutely. Clint's Guitars says the Yamahas are fantastic guitars for the money. I just purchased a Revstar 420 for my son, and I couldn't put it down myself. That's awesome. Stock pickups are usually pretty decent. They are. One of my friends who plays in a rock and roll cover band, like he does, all the classic pub songs you've ever heard, all the party favorites. He plays one of the least expensive Yamaha Pacificas, and it sounds awesome. So, and he shreds on it too. He's a really fast player, and he makes it work. So, yeah, there ain't nothing wrong with those. Thoughts on Epiphone Les Paul Custom for metal? Thinking of getting one. I tell you what, there's no guitar almost that you can't use for any style of music. My only caveat to that would be don't buy an arch top guitar. Just buy a solid body one. But you did say Les Paul, so you should be fine. You can chunk away on that for as long as you like. You won't have any problems. Les Pauls can cover anything from jazz to metal, no problems, and everything in between. I don't play metal at all, but I know they can hold a huge amount of distortion without really any issues with, the pickup squealing or anything like that. Bobby says, would a noise gate set to reduction versus mute help with the buzz hum in the single coils? It does, and that's what I do here as well. So I run a noise gate on any time I'm playing single coil. Not every time, but it just depends. The more gain I've got going through an amp, the more the buzz becomes prominent. When you play cleaner, it doesn't affect it so much. How's your injury going? Is it affecting your training? Fit by 40. Your birthday's only a few months away, right? Yeah, it is. It's coming up in June. So, look, it's been hard to do legs. But, anything quads related has been hard. Anything that requires my knee to move in a particular way, I've just got to watch it. I can't really do any. It's actually affecting me walking as well, which sucks. But upper body and calves and back, we're all good. Sean says, I never trust batteries in any gear, especially active pickups. Yeah, it's just one more thing to remember to bring batteries for, I guess. That's one of those things. I'm not a big fan either. Thoughts on TV Jones pickups in a Strat? Well, that'd be cool. I've never actually tried that. Those TV Jones pickups are pretty cool. All right. Phil says Les Pauls can play both types of music, rock and roll. Absolutely. Jamal, welcome, mate. How you doing? Sorry if I didn't say hi before. He says slosh. So, yeah, I took a Jackson Flying V and turned it into a blues guitar for a video, just for kicks, and that was about as metal as you can get. And it sounded great. So you can absolutely do the opposite of that too. You know, chuck some humbuckers in a Tele and gent. Might not feel quite the same as some of those other guitars, but, you know, that's the thing. You can get away playing. It's not about really the instrument you buy. It's more about just what you do with it. So, same with any of the gear. What's an album you enjoy that doesn't have guitar? One of my favorite. Well, there's a few actually. Well, there's a few that have guitar parts, but they're not guitar albums. But recently, I had this old thing from the, I think, early '90s called Enigma. I don't know if anyone knows that. The Sounds of Sadness. Check it out. It's like just bizarre and awesome beats and like orchestra parts, and it's this combination of, it sounds like video game music from the 90s. It's wild. If you ever played Streets of Rage, you'll know what I mean when you hear it. It's that kind of vibe. So that would be one of my favorites. I like a lot of other stuff too. Even like Dr. John. A lot of his stuff has guitar in it, but it's not really featured, you know. Where would I put a noise gate in my pedal chain? I'd put it, well, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can put it after your distortion pedals, would be the way to go as well. I mean, you could try it. It depends what kind of setup you're running, but in terms of where it would actually sit, you can try it right at the start, but sometimes if you click on a pedal after it, it's going to boost up the floor. So I would put it after both overdrives. You could almost put it right at the end of your signal chain as well, before the amp. That would work too. That's kind of how I run this, like the noise gate's basically before the amp. Hey Shane, thanks Pork Chop. How does the Royal Flush compare to the Analog Man King of Tone? I think the Royal Flush is the best dual overdrive I played. I really stand by that. I got two of them. I think they're fantastic. The Analog Man King of Tone was great, but you know what? That demo or review we did of it was, what, 8-9 years ago maybe? So I don't remember how great that pedal was in comparison. I actually see that video pop up all the time in my most viewed video sort of playlist or whatever, but I like the Royal Flush. I think they're kind of similar. I would say that the Royal Flush has more drive available, which could go either way depending on what you like. But the reason I think the Royal Flush is also better is they're much more available. And the guys from that company are fantastic guys too. They're really good dudes. So yeah, in terms of tone, it's all subjective stuff, but I don't think I've played one I've liked more than the Royal Flush. So yeah, that's just my opinion. But King of Tones are great. If you can get one and you don't have to wait like a year and a half to have it made, then you'll be doing all right. Thanks for the super chat too, mate. I appreciate that. So we've got about 12 minutes left. I'll just we'll keep going here. We won't sort of stretch this out for much longer. Excuse me. Surferby says, I remember Enigma. Yeah, Enigma's great, man. It's just, I had it actually on Spotify the other day too. I like all kinds of music, right? Like some of the stuff I listen to is just bizarre or you know, it's old school stuff. I like a lot of the old school 90s sort of rap stuff as well, which might surprise a few people. But Warren G from back in 94, it's rocking, man. Love Streets of Rage. It's a great game. So if you've never heard Enigma, put on track 2 from the Sounds of Sadness album, and it sounds like the first part of the music that you hear in Streets of Rage. It's basically, I think Streets of Rage may have should have been sued for that. Streets of Rage 4 is coming out. Awesome. Cool. I'm getting one of those Artist amps on your recommendation. Turn it on, plug it in, tweak the chicken knobs, and I'm away. Yeah, they're great. Like I said, it's my favorite. It basically replaced my PV Bandit and Studio Pro. It's a great little amp. It's not quite as loud as the PV Bandit, but it's loud enough. It says 20 watts. It feels more like a 30-watt amp. And having the master volume and the 2 channels is a really great thing as well. I did a full review on that too, if you're interested. I know you've seen the video, obviously, but I did a written review at guitarpedaldemos.com. You check that out as well. And covers a few more sort of things that maybe didn't go into the video. I try not to make the videos go for too long. 10 minutes seems to be about the sweet spot. So yeah, you'll enjoy it. 100%. I love mine. Like I said the other day, Sunday night I had it out. It was totally rocking. All right, for new people that want to start on pedals, what do you think the most efficient way, money-wise and time-wise, is to use? I'm currently looking at a GE200, a NUX Cerebus, or a Tech 21 fly rig. I think the best thing to do is not go digital to begin with. That's something that will come with... You'll get better at it once you know what you like. If you don't know what you like and you buy something like the GE200 or the Fender Mustang or any of these digital things, even something like the Helix, which is much more expensive, you're not going to really know what you're doing, and you're not probably going to get the most out of it, because you're basically... You're going to get the option paralysis thing where you got too many options and you're going to sit there fiddling because you don't know what you want. That happened to me when I got the M13 years ago. I was like, this has too many options. I'm never going to get through all of this and understand it properly. So I took it back and I bought an overdrive, an octave pedal, and a delay pedal, and a tuner. And I was done. And I had that on my board for years. So I would try to just get the things that you like the best first, in analog form or digital representations of them in a pedal. I think if you're going to go to something really complex, you might regret it. I think most people who run the digital stuff have already gone through having multiple effects on the floor, and then they go, okay, I know what I want. Now, the Cerebus is a different beast again, because it's got a combination of digital and analog stuff, but it's in a familiar form. That would be easier to get your head around than the GE200, at least in my opinion. I haven't tried the Flyrig 5, but I've tried other things like it. That would probably be a similar sort of thing to the Cerebus. I just think what you don't want to do is be diving through menus. You just want to have something on the floor that you can, or on the table or whatever, that you can just turn and you can get something more or less out of it. Once you start going into the digital stuff, if you're a new player, it's not the best way to go. That would be my 2 cents. Find out if you like delay, work out which one you like, and just get that. You might not even need 9/10 of the effects that are in these things, you know. And it's like me, I'm never going to use the majority of the stuff in the GE200, but I knew what I liked, so I set up a Fender amp with a tube screamer or a clon and a delay, and that was it. So I'm using essentially no percentage of the power of the thing. That was just the sounds that I liked. But I already knew that. And if I didn't know that, I'd be fiddling around with all kinds of stuff. If you're a home studio guy and you want to get into it, that's a good option maybe then to do that. But yeah, I would say go for something that's a bit more analog based than digital, because digital can be a little bit too confusing, especially for new players. Leon, hola. What practice amps do you like more, the Katana 50 or Yamaha THR10? I found the THR10s to be way overpriced here, at least in Australia. It's one of those things where, like, they sound good, but if you want a small practice amp, get the NUX BT Lite. It's NUX BT Lite. Great little practice amp, and they're $100. Like, you can't go wrong. The Katana 50 is a great choice too. You got the power attenuator. That's probably the best out of all three, but the Katanas require you to hook them up to a computer, and then you've got to fiddle around with them like that. You can just use them, of course, but you know, to get all of the effects, you really do have to hook them up to a computer. So, and same with the Yamaha too. The same sort of thing with the new XBT Lite, but you don't necessarily need to use that. You can just plug in and use them. So I would say if you're just playing at home, the Katana 50 is probably overkill. Great little amp, and it does have that power soak thing on there as well to 1 watt or whatever it is. But yeah, the THR10 is way overpriced in my opinion for what it does. There's plenty of other small practice amps that can give you great sounds as well, but they sound good. Are you an Andertons or that pedal show kind of guy? I like the pedal show. The thing is, I don't watch as many guitar channels anymore just because I'm around so much of the stuff. If I'm watching another channel, I'll watch something like Robert Baker who can just shred. And I'm like, hey, this is great. And the Tone King, I like his stuff as well. I like his live streams. They're always entertaining and sort of they go off topic and they can be quite fun. But yeah, Andertons, I haven't watched them for quite a long time now. I don't have anything against the guys, but yeah, the videos are just too long. I'm not going to spend 40 minutes watching a video about guitars. I got other stuff to be doing, especially when you're in the same industry and you're editing stuff daily. So yeah, I can't sit there and watch big, long videos like that. But I'll skim through a number of other YouTube channels still. You know what? I'll see if my friend's still got that King of Tone. I'll see if I can get it again and maybe do a shootout between that and the Royal Flush. I know someone did a shootout between them on YouTube already, and they sounded very similar, but I don't think they do. I don't know what was going on in that recording, whether there was some sort of something else in the recording process. I don't. It's definitely not a clone, at least not in my opinion, but I think different versions of the King of Tone also sound different as well. So everyone's like, oh, what version was that? I'm like, it's the whatever came out 10 years ago. Thoughts on the JHS Angry Charlie? That's another pedal I haven't played. Let me have a look. What's it look like? Yeah, I haven't played that one. It looks cool. Yeah, definitely haven't tested that one out. All right. Well, there we go. Sorry, I just having a look online. All right, we've got a few minutes left. What's my thoughts on the PV Valve King 20? They're decent little amps. I got a chance to play one of those live. They're a darker sound than, say, something like the Classic 30. They've got a very different sort of voicing. And if you like the sound of them, then that's what matters. I didn't dislike them. I just think they've got a darker kind of vibe. And just the actual sort of overdrive circuit sounds a little bit different as well. But it is a really cool little amp. They're pretty inexpensive from memory too. Like, they're probably good value. I haven't played one for 7 or 8 years easily now. Maybe not quite that long, but it's been a while since I've actually had a chance to plug one in. Bullwhip Johnson says, I'm curious about the Maton guitars. I know they're made in Australia. I've never seen one here in the US. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of shops that do sell them. I know a couple of specialty shops do stock them, but they are hard to find. I think their strength is definitely their acoustics over their electrics. I've owned both. One small criticism I have of them is their frets are really small. I don't know why they do that. They're just these tiny little frets. That's just maybe just typical of acoustic guitars. But yeah, I've had mixed experiences with Matons. One of my first pro guitar was an EM325C, which was a left-handed cutaway electric acoustic. So it's an acoustic guitar with a pickup system with an AP4. Those pickups are some of the best in the world. This is the funny thing about Matons, right? I think acoustically they don't sound that great. Like, just in the room, you plug them in, they sound amazing, right? Like, Keith Urban plays a little one, and that just sounds huge. There's a lot of guys that still play Maton guitars. An offshoot company from the other owner was Cole Clark, and you see more of those around these days through smart marketing and through a lot of great endorsed artists that are using those. I think the only guy that would come to mind, there's a few, but everyone knows Tommy Emmanuel. He's a big Maton endorsee or artist, and there's not really any other than John Butler. A lot of guys probably won't even know who he is. There's not a lot of Maton guys that you go, oh yeah, that's a household name. Cole Clark are kind of getting around a little bit more. You see them more in the US, at least from the shops I've been in anyway. Both are pretty similar guitars. The Cole Clarks look a little bit more modern, a little bit less bland. But that look isn't for everybody. I think I still prefer the look of the Maton guitars over the Cole Clarks. But acoustically, on their own, I think the Cole Clarks probably sound better in the room. Plugged in, the Matons are pretty hard to beat. They're sort of almost on par. All right, guys, we're starting to come up to the end here. We'll just take a couple quick questions and then I'll get out of here. Thanks for hanging around. I appreciate it. If you stayed until the end, please give the video the thumbs up, or if you're enjoying the stream. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Terry, welcome, mate. How are you? Just found one of your podcasts. Are you thinking of doing a series like that, live stuff on the podcast? Yeah, the only problem with doing that is all the questions I get. I could do those live. It would probably save a lot of time, but I wouldn't be able to sort of bring in all the overlays. That would be the hard part. Pictures of stuff and all that kind of thing. So it'd be less engaging to watch maybe, but I don't want to also ignore everybody in the chat. So to do a podcast live would mean just ignoring it, which would be tough. So yeah, I like to chat to people, on these things. So the podcast will probably just still be either the audio one you can find on iTunes, which is, I do one usually I try to do one a month, and if there's not a video on YouTube, it's usually just a quick audio one going straight to inthebluespodcast.com, gets sent to iTunes, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm enjoying that a lot, actually. I'm really enjoying it. Mandit says, take care, Shane. Thanks for all the great demos through the years. You're welcome, mate. Thank you. Thanks for the support. Catching the end of the live Q&A. Yep, this is the end. So, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it. If I missed your questions, feel free to post in the on the video once it gets cached. And if the red dots are out of the title, then the video is in playback mode. So, all right, here we go. I'll just take this last one. This is from Gustavo here, I think you pronounce it. I like the videos that you comment on the Marshall SC20H. I was waiting for your comment about it. Unfortunately, this amp did not arrive in Brazil yet. Give it a go when you get a chance to. One quick thing I'll just say about it is a few people mentioned that if you have something going through the effects loop and you turn that item on or off with a foot switch, it can make a clunking sound. I didn't hear that at all with the one that I had. I have a feeling that that's been ironed out, but it's still worth testing those out. Definitely give them a play. If you like the Marshall JCM 800 sound, you're gonna love it. It's a beast. So thanks heaps, guys. I really appreciate you hanging around. Thanks for all the questions. If I get motivated right after this, I will be adding some time codes to the live stream. So stay tuned. Thanks again, and I'll catch you on the next one.